Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by Abel Pacheco. Abel is the president and principal of Five Talents Commercial Real Estate. He's also a podcast host of the Five Talents podcast. And just in case you didn't know this, he's also a commercial loan broker. Aaron, the guy who does our show notes, what's up, man? Don't worry. Just put that he's the president and principal of Five Talents Commercial Real Estate and podcast host. But Abel does a lot, and we're going to get into his background here today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas. Went to the University of Texas at San Antonio, UTSA. That's the Roadrunners. We had a little joke about that before. And now Abel lives in San Antonio, Texas. Go Spurs. Really, I think we got the title for this conversation right, Abel, which is Don't Mess with Texas. I'm going to flip it over.
Don't mess with Texas, baby.
I'm going to flip it over to you, though. Just really grateful to have you here on the show for so many reasons we'll get into. But any opening remarks for my listeners?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. Adam, since I've met you, man, provided a ton of value to me, to your followers, to people that you've been, really sowing into. And I'm excited to be part of the, that system of giving back and helping others. So I really appreciate it. I know how much time, effort, and energy it is to just to push this stuff out live as consistently and as you do it for the length of time. So thank you very much for having me. And I'm excited to help you give back as well, man.
Thank you, Abel. Yeah, guys, Abel had me on his show not too long ago. I'd say probably within the past couple months. So I believe we're going live here in January. So guys, go ahead and I don't know, we'll say probably November. Anyways, I had a blast on Abel's show is what I'm getting at. And after I listened to my interview with him, I was like, wait, how could I not invite him back on Dream Chasers? That's so wrong of me to not do that, especially with just all that he's working on. He's a fun guy. And again, he's a Texan at heart, which I'm really excited to talk about what's going on in Texas today, because clearly it seems like the entire world is gravitating to this state, including myself. Myself and my fiance were very interested in a potential future in Texas. We joke about it often. It gets cold here in Canada, you know that. So anyways, yeah. And guys, I first met Abel. It's funny on LinkedIn. Once you kind of start running in the circle that we find ourselves in, you see the same talking heads pop up all the time. And I think I had gotten familiar with knowing who he was at least a year before we actually finally had a conversation. And then again, we just hit it off. So power of LinkedIn at its finest. I'll kind of flip it back over to you one more time, Abel, to just fill in the blanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And nice to be on the show again. So my name's Abel Pacheco. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, where I live today. I grew up in Corpus Christi, like Adam mentioned. So I grew up in the beach town. And have the second half of my life here in Texas by the Alamo. So if you're not familiar with San Antonio, let's remember the Alamo, baby. Texan through and through. Funny on that, since we're doing a Texas theme show. My grandparents, or great, however you want to call it, were traced back to the Battle of the Alamo. So I had a Pacheco there, Luciano Pacheco. If you Google him, you can kind of find, the historians traced all this stuff back to those people. So I'm like, yep, that's remember the Alamo, baby. And one of the sons of the Republic of Texas is kind of in our family. So it's pretty cool. And then, yeah, man, I live here in just enjoying life with my wife and two kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they are my world. My wife is amazing, super supportive in everything that I do. Give her a lot of props every single day. And then, just commercial real estate is kind of where I've focused. I have a long background, a track record of sales, leadership, management experience, IT, tech, hosting, cloud, all these words, if you're not familiar with them, it's just like everything you do on the internet. That's what makes everything work. And I did that for a number of years, sold to Fortune 500 companies, led $50 million a year businesses, and now have transitioned most of my time to commercial real estate. So it's pleasure, again, joining you, man.
Yeah.
We're going to have a great conversation. Great conversation.
Definitely. And before we, I guess, get into today's topic, I do want to just revisit a few things you said there. It's really cool to see your extensive history in sales. You were talking about selling Cutco knives and basically like that nitty gritty. You've got a history doing the sales that no one wanted to do, which translates in the long run as to why you're so successful now. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I did door-to-door sales in grade 8. So like, I know what it's like selling lawn care, but, come on, Adam, think. Well,
No,
anyways,
it's
go
okay.
ahead. Go
On
ahead.
that note, though, on that note, there are a ton of successful, individuals that came out of like either door-to-door sales, in-person demonstrations, business to business, cold calling, and a lot of it has to do with like just your ability to take some no's and have the persistence to keep going. In my opinion, man, once you've heard no 1,000 or more times and can continue on muscling through, you're like, you may have what it takes to be that entrepreneur, because you're going to go through some rough moments, and you just got to keep battling on. So I think that's a lot of it. Yeah, we sold Cutco knives, if anybody's familiar with that. We did that for like 6 years and led an office, led a team, led a crew, and sold millions of dollars of Cutco. So that was fun.
Love it. And I do remember what I was going to ask you now. And you just give us like, the 60-second summary. But what was it? What was your light bulb moment where you went from employee or, successful sales professional to, hey, you know what? I'm going to run my own commercial real estate business. Because, something that needs to happen there. I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
people in our industry are so grateful that they made that transition. But like,
Mhm.
what was it for you, for anyone listening that might be in the old Abel shoes?
Yeah, man. Professional career, IT hosting, cloud sales. Like we said, 60-person sales team. We went from 5 million when we were like 8 people a year to 12 million a year to 25 million, from 40 million to 50 something $1 million a year. And from 8 to, 10, 12, 15, 60 people. Right. Well, I'm in a boardroom with the CFO and, VPs of finance, VP of sales, and they're like saying, "Hey, man, you did an amazing year. That was just an amazing run." And then we all started chuckling. "Hey, congratulations!" All that stuff. The chuckle turned to more of a sarcastic chuckle, and that went to, "Hey, man, great job. You've just earned yourself a quota increase, a big one, 60% year over year." And I realized, that was not going to come with 60% increase of pay.
Hmm.
Rather, your territory gets smaller. You have to do more work to earn the same amount. And that was like the ultimate. I need to move to commercial real estate full time to try to figure it out. I've been investing in single family real estate for a number of years prior, like 10 years prior, because of, I had to try to create passive income. But I think that was one of those moments where I'm like, something's got to change. It's got to be different. How the heck do I find it? And I didn't know commercial real estate then, but I was like on the hunt for something literally after that conversation.
Yeah, yeah, those moments in life are so powerful. And I guess here we go. Speaking of powerful moments, we are now going to step into the next level chamber. The topic of today's discussion is don't mess with Texas. And I know we were just on a really cool topic, just talking about that whole entrepreneurial transition. So I don't want to lose that either. But I mean, don't mess with Texas. Talking to Abel before the call, I'm like, we need to zone in on this because, as I mentioned, it seems as though if we're just looking at the U.S., a lot of people are gravitating towards Texas. A lot of people are gravitating towards Florida. Obviously, we know because of like the tax advantages and that type of thing. But I'm sure the
Yeah,
warm weather helps. I know,
definitely.
I know myself. I've always had a good time in your state, and look forward to the next time I can make a trip back. So, um, what I guess as an entrepreneur, like what are some things about Texas that are so compelling, and why you think entrepreneurs are also coming there?
Yeah. Well, in my neck of the woods, so San Antonio, Texas is about 2.5 hours south of Boston. It's about 2.5 hours north of Corpus Christi. We're about 6 hours away of Dallas, to the northeastish of us. And all of South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, RGV, as they sometimes call it, you have the US Mexico Canada agreement, which is south of us. And that is the old NAFTA, which basically outlines $300 billion of trade from US, Mexico, Canada, $300 billion going that way, 290 billion going this way, $150 billion going that way. So all of those US Mexico Canada agreement, like it basically just solidifies like South Texas cities down there, they're not going away. They're
Mm.
small cities, but unless somebody's going to change some of these international agreements that have been there for some number of years, those billions of dollars are going to go through South Texas. So that's what makes some people really comfortable investing down there. Corpus Christi, big Texas town, tourism, beaches, I know it's different right now during the pandemic, but it is, just one of those places where you have population that's been there for years. Growing up there, it's kind of like I'm the exception, or there's very few people that actually move away. Most of the people grew up there, they stay there, parents are there, grandparents are there, and that's why population continues to grow in that city. San Antonio, Texas, man, we're starting to establish ourselves as a new tech community. Downtown is being revived. Currently, it's like big on the biggest oil employer, Valero's there, one of the biggest tech companies, Rackspace,
You
IT
got Air
hosting,
Force
where
there too, right?
yeah, you have Brooks Army Air Force, Randolph Brooks Medical Center. There's like 3 or 4 military posts, so it's like military town USA, or so there's some kind of nickname that I guess I should know better. But there's all these different military bases, the big medical center, and that's San Antonio. And then Austin, people know that as the tech hub, but really, I guess what most people miss is like this I-35 corridor. It's a I-35 highway in between Austin to the north and San Antonio to the south. It's Shirts, New Braunfels, San Marcos, giving away the goods for anybody that's not from Texas. Where do I go invest? Well, the I-35 corridor, they said it's going to be like its own metropolis in like 20 years. Because it's just booming like crazy. It's the stretch of highway that used to be just land between the two cities, and now it's like basically converging. You have a bunch of population growing to those beautiful areas, and there's like a river in between it. There's some nice tourism spots in between those two areas. It's kind of hidden areas. It's really nice, and all of that, just kind of leans towards, like you said, warm weather. They say Texas is a country of its own. We do have like really great, median income for employment. The cost of living is lower. You can find, man, my first house was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,600 square feet, normal, modest house. That was 116 grand, and it was like nice. It was a new house. It was like less than 10 years old, 5 years old. My nicest house here in San Antonio, I'm like, oh, now we got marble countertops and an outdoor patio and a big sprawling, 2,700 square feet. It was like 290K. I mean, it's a nice spread. I feel good. So the median income compared to the cost of living is very good. So you have some of the, very diverse economic factors. When I look for market factors, market mechanics, I want a lot of population, diverse job growth, and I want a market that people enjoy being in, and have a lot of those things in Texas, at least in my central to South Texas that I kind of know pretty well. And then, man, you go to Dallas. Dallas is like the number, I don't know, what is it, 3 or 4 largest metro in the U.S. It's ridiculous. There's like, millions of people. I don't know the exact numbers. I think it's like 5 million or something dumb. And then, you have that DFW, it's Dallas Fort Worth, and that place just all comes together. It's one big sprawling, mass of people. So, you get these things. I don't know much about North Texas, so Lubbock, Amarillo, some
I
of
do
those
know as you get
areas.
closer to Oklahoma City, there's some interest from an
Yeah.
investment standpoint. Like Oklahoma City is
Mm,
not a bad option right now either, as
yeah.
far as investing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get that's I'm sure there's additional markets that are amazing. I just
I
kind
would
of grew
probably
up
still
in
pick
Texas and
Texas.
stay here. It's in my backyard, and I go, well, I don't need to invest outside of the city or outside of our state, anyways. Here in New Mexico is about the only places that I'm in right now. So, yep.
Love it. Okay, so want to kind of double click on a few things you said there because you're talking about the I-35 corridor.
Yeah.
If you could put yourself in the shoes, say, of an investor, commercial real estate focused,
Hmm.
who's tired of living in New York or California and they want to be closer to their investments. They know that Texas is where they want to
Yeah.
go. But like, for example, I think I wouldn't say mistake, but even myself thinking like as an outsider of Texas, I'm going to think, okay, Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. I'm not going to think New Braunfels, which somehow I know
Secondary,
that
tertiary markets.
I know
Yep.
New Braunfels from someone who's been on Dream Chasers. Shout out to my buddy Anaki Strick. But like, where are the sweet spots that Texans are going to, so that way anyone from outside
Yeah.
of the state that's listening to this can be like, oh, I know something now.
Yeah. No, well, the cities that you mentioned, they're all still popular, like Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, right? Everyone still flocks to those areas. But if you have been here for a number of years, Corpus Christi, right? Where I'm from as well. So you still know those cities as like, great living experience. You have city and country, within a 45-minute drive. I can go to the ranch in about 45 minutes or an hour, and I can go to like downtown, in almost any one of those cities. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. River, water, bodies of water, enjoy that stuff. But there's all those secondary or tertiary markets that we're talking about that, a lot of people don't know about because they think of the big cities. And we talked about, I mentioned some of them. Shirts is outside of San Antonio, Helotes, outside of San Antonio, New Braunfels, San Marcos on the 35 corridor. There's another little city called Buda on the 35 corridor, and those cities on that 35 corridor are where is like super popular because Austin's stretching out. It's really compact, and San Antonio keeps growing. Population growth year over year, just consistent and steady for like 20 years. It's not a new thing. That's an ongoing, population growth. And so as those cities spread out, there's enough land in Texas that people can literally, go and buy some plots and build or renovate or go to the old or go to the new, whether they're building new, or the existing, buying and renovating. There's a lot of commercial properties on that, and those are the cities that I think people are flocking to right now. If I'm an investor looking for I-35 corridor, stuff like that.
I love it. Okay, so your niche, your expertise is multifamily investments. You were telling me a little bit before our call about what you're working on right now. Sounds like
Sure.
it's been it's all about how you look at it. But I think for you and hearing your background and anyone who wants to follow up with Abel later, it sounds like he's had a positive COVID experience. I have to say myself as well. It's all about how you look at it. So
Yeah.
just for anyone who's tuned in listening right now that might want to learn more about what you're what you're working on now, how they can invest with you. You've got it going on. So where's the best resource for them to go for that? And I guess talk
Yeah.
about it a little bit too.
Yeah. So I'll start with, what we're doing: commercial real estate syndication. We pull capital from multiple different investors, and then we help them, increase your cash flow, increase net worth, and have some great tax benefits. We end up serving a lot of professional W-2 employees that don't have the time to actually invest in real estate. They don't want to manage. They don't want the headache of like dealing with properties. And then we all invest together. We, partner right alongside of them, and we go buy something bigger than what we would have been able to do on our own or as an individual. So we pull a bunch of people, buy something bigger, and then, a multifamily apartment complex it tends to be the staple. It's been pretty COVID resistant in Texas. Not every market and every asset class has had the same experience during COVID, but for Texas, it worked out pretty well. The B and the C class properties, not the A's and not the war zone properties, right in between. We've had good returns throughout the years, and specifically this year, it felt a lot like the year before. So that was good that there was not a blip or not a huge change. And that's what we do. So if anybody's interested in that, you can reach out to me at 5tcre.com. That's our website. And on my website, 5tcre.com, you can hear a lot more about our background under the About Us page. If you want some education, there's a free book. You can check out the hand guide or the investment guide that I used to invest in my first $100 million of commercial real estate. That's there. And then there's the COVID experience that we had. You're right, Adam, it was positive for us because, man, we had a lot. It felt like we had more time to kind of work on the business or the system. So we launched a podcast that's on our website. If you look for more information, we wrote that book this year, and then we were able to close on three. Well, we closed on 2 properties so far. Our third one is coming in the next couple of weeks, and then we're launching a fund, a 506c investment. If anybody's interested, that information is on the website as well.
Love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, highly endorse Abel. He's very transparent with his investor base. If you need to, if you're bored one day and you just want to see what he's up to, what he looks like, if he got a haircut, whatever, hop on LinkedIn. I'm sure he posts a video or something. Very, very transparent and high communication with the people that he works with, which speaks loudly. So check his stuff out. Subscribe to his podcast, and we might give you one more shout out to go check out the podcast here before the end. But one final question. Abel, before I get to the fun one that I told you we have also, um, what would you say to someone who's just like, they're on the fence, they need that final push to make that move to Texas? It doesn't have to be San Antonio, it could be any of the cities we named so
Mhm.
far. Like, what's your, like, truly your words of encouragement to someone who's thinking about pulling that trigger?
Man, I always hear this, old mindset, and I think it's a Jim Rohn mindset that says, man, if you're not happy with the situation that you're in, like you're not a tree. You are not planted or rooted into one place for the rest of your life. You have the ability to change things. So if you're, one of, complaining, upset about one of those individuals that's not happy about your personal property taxes or what you pay and taxes, or the, renter laws for real estate or landlord rules or what, all the legislation and things like that, man, you don't have to stay there. So you can absolutely move. Like that's the great thing. And let's take a little adventure. Let's get out there and try something. Uh, have had some huge, amazing successes over my career, professional and commercial real estate investing. Just because, we said, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, okay, we lose, my pride's going to get hurt, and I'm not going to come out a winner, and people look down on me, and okay, well, that's just a pride thing. If I can get over that as the worst case scenario, I'm going to get maybe my knee skinned a little bit here and there, but if I don't do that, then what's the alternative? Nothing will change. And if you can, pony up and just put a little risk out there and just go for it, like that's what adventure is. Just go for it. Then you're gonna have a better experience for it, win, lose, or draw. And I encourage you. So if you're interested in taking a plunge, go for it. There you go.
Well said. Well said. And as a fellow Zoomer, I know we're on Zoom all the time. I got to applaud you for keeping a straight face. I know your child sounds like they're getting ready to make their Dream Chasers debut too, which is awesome. But I have a puppy, so like every now and then she'll bark. You got it, guys. Some advice for you on Zoom calls out there. Everyone can relate. All right, we're all at home right now. If you get some background noise, just power through it. It's okay. It makes you human.
Yeah, I have my 3-year-old and 1-year-old, and I get lucky because my wife is she's the one taking the hard work during these interviews and things like that. So she's helping us, and yeah, like you said, man, just hey, stay focused. I got some headphones for that, and we'll keep working on it.
All right. So here we go, Abel. If you could give one shout out to someone you've never given a shout out to before, publicly, we'll say, who would that be?
I'm glad you said publicly because I was thinking, you know what? I've given probably personal shout outs, but never a public social internet shout out to my beautiful sisters, Melissa and Catherine. And you guys are amazing. You've been there for me for years through ups and downs and challenges. And both of you are just absolutely, uh, amazing successes in your own arenas, professionally, personally with their children, and just we just want to say love you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. And we hope to have 2 new listeners of Dream Chasers now. Thank you, Abel.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, one more time, I think you said it, but 5tcre.com is the best place to go to get plugged in on everything,
Yep.
Abel.
Yeah. Yeah. People can still find me on LinkedIn, like you said, and I'm there. Go to our website and I have links to everything there, and a lot of education, a lot of webinars, a lot of recordings, educate resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Boom. Love it. All right, Abel. Well, thank you very much for investing your time with us here today. Any closing remarks?
Man, if you are not religiously listening to Adam's show, you need to start. Subscribe, leave a review, leave a rating. He is an amazing resource. He pulls some really quality guests, and I'm not saying that because I'm on it. Well, thank you for I'm on it, but I mean just in general, his network that he exposes you to. I would say go get more of it and do so. And yeah, okay, thanks a lot for everything, Adam.
My pleasure, Abel. Thank you for the shout out. It means a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to Dream Chasers Interviews with the Future. We'll catch you in the next episode. Remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.